that would come up to you and say, well, the Libertarian Party, they hate government, they're against government, but how them roads doing? How's that trash pickup doing? What would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I would say that, regardless of how the road's doing, trash is being picked up. We're all individuals who need our personal freedom, and we're not going to progress as a nation until we all grasp that concept to be responsible for ourselves.
Now, Rebecca, how about you?
So I believe that type of a statement is nothing more than an attempt at fear-mongering. And you know what? When the government stops doing things, those things get done better, faster, cheaper, more productively, with better service than when the government was doing them.
So when it's handled by the private sector?
So let it be handled by the private sector, and let's move forward. Let's have government do what government is supposed to do, as stated in the Constitution, and not a single thing more.
Well, you know what I tell people? It's like, look, the trash, fire department, police department, roads, bridges, the infrastructure, that's what government is supposed to do. Telling me who I can marry, telling me how to think, imposing morals on me as an individual is not what the government is supposed to do. As a matter of fact, I got into a debate the other day with a guy who was telling me about, well, so you don't believe that the Christian morals are right? And I said, it doesn't matter if I believe they're right. I have a set of morals. And if you're going to legislate morality, whose morality are you going to legislate? The Christian morality? Well, what if everybody in the United States isn't Christian? What if they're Muslim? What if they're not the Muslims that cut people's heads off and they're all extremists, but what if they're just Muslims? How about their morality? Or how about the morality? How about the morality of the Mormons? Is that the same?
So they're having that exact problem, right? Some friends of mine that were 100% behind Hobby Lobby. It's the right thing to do. And I said, all right, well, let's see what your opinion is when it's a different religion, one that's not yours. And sure enough, it's a year later, and Home Depot is making some changes in Michigan in order to, cater to their Muslim clientele.
Oh, and everybody's up in arms, yeah.
And the exact same people that were so thrilled with Hobby Lobby are upset with Home Depot, and it's like, okay, so you want religion, you want businesses to be able to force religion down people's throat when it's your religion, but not when it's somebody else's.
So, Irene,
that's why government shouldn't be involved in religion.
So, Irene Johnson, candidate for the state house, or state house, right? Yeah, representative of the House. Here on the Ring Central Celebrity Hotline. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, legislating morality, is that anyone that, do you think the government has a right to do that?
No. I don't feel like the government has any right to infringe on anybody's personal beliefs. That they shouldn't have the right to do that at all.
Now, I don't have a problem with a private company like Hobby Lobby, who is owned by Christians, to run their business at their set of moral codes. No problem with that. I have no problem with Home Depot in Michigan. If they have a majority of their community is Muslim, and if a Muslim owns that store and he wants to do that, I have no problem with that. It's his money, it's his store, it's his business. I can choose not to shop there. I'll walk across the street to Lowe's, or I'll go to a Home Depot in another town. Home Depot is kind of like the Starbucks of do-it-yourself, man. It's got one in every corner. If you don't agree with the one in that town, drive 15 minutes in any direction, you can go to another Home Depot. But what I don't support is a government telling a private company what moral code that they have to live by or they have to do business by. Am I off track?
So
No, not at all.
there are a couple, there are a couple different ways of looking at it. If the government is legislating morality, that's one thing. If the government is legislating in a manner that forces somebody to believe or do something that they don't want to do, that's a problem. And you have to be very careful how you write laws. Right? You need to be very careful that the government isn't forcing morality. You also need to be very careful that people aren't being coerced
one way or another,
as well. So the Hobby Lobby issue, one could say that because of the way the law was written and the way the Supreme Court interpreted it, now Hobby Lobby is a special category of employer that is allowed to force their religious beliefs on employees. Is that fair?
If they're a private company, and if people walk through the door to get a job there, and they understand, they understand
whether it's privately owned or publicly traded. What difference does that make?
If that company has a certain set of morals that are dictated by the people who created that company, whether it's publicly traded or not, because people have a choice whether to buy that stock or not. If that company,
you're the one that said privately owned,
or even privately owned, or publicly traded. Either way, if that company has a set of moral standards that is very open, there's no surprises, everybody knows what they get. If you walk through that door and submit an application, you know exactly what you're getting into. Exactly. And as long as they don't discriminate as far as fair hiring practices, if that person that wants to go work for Hobby Lobby, if their moral code is that they can kill their unborn children, then they will know when they walk through Hobby Lobby's door that Hobby Lobby's health care coverage will not support that. And that's known walking through the door. So as long as it's open, and it's not like, I went out and got drunk, and this guy was cute, and we jumped into bed together, and now I got a baby I can't afford, so I got to kill it. The Hobby Lobby doesn't afford the means to kill that baby, and it's a surprise. Then I don't, as long as they know going into it that if you have unprotected, irresponsible sex, that you're going to create a child that Hobby Lobby's not going to help you kill, then I have no problem with that. And you have a choice to walk into another store and apply for that job. No one says anybody has to work for anybody. And if Hobby Lobby's moral code, if their owners have decided that that is not something they want to support, they have every right not to support it, in my opinion. And it shouldn't be dictated to them from a government to have to support that. Irene Johnson, any thoughts?
I have to agree with you on that because I feel like, when you work so hard for a business that you should be able to, do what you want with that business and reap the benefits that you have worked for. And I don't feel like government has the right to tell you anything about that.
Rebecca?
So I think that it needs to be standard. I think that you're either in business or you're not in business. And I think either the government can tell you what to do or can't tell you what to do. that the government can't pick and choose. So, number one, I'm completely against the whole ACA business in the first place. But having said that, you're either an employer or you're not. And if you're an employer, you should have to follow the exact same rules as every other employer. Even if you don't like those rules, then we need to be taking a look at getting rid of the rules for everybody, not making a special class of employer. You're either an employer or you're not.
So the employer then...
If we looked at it that way and said, you know what, we don't want the government overstepping here, that's probably a pretty good indication that the government shouldn't be overstepping for anybody in business.
So then you believe that a company that is run by people that own the company, whether it's publicly traded or not, have the right to run that company in the way they feel is best, fitting into their personal integrity and character?
As long as they're not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, as long as they're not discriminating and doing all the stuff that's protected. But if they don't want to supply birth control that kills an unborn child, they should have the freedom to do that based on their own morals, not dictated to them by the government.
So there is nothing in the Constitution that gives the government the right to determine what health care people get.
And that is exactly why I have you on the show, because that's exactly what...
So it has nothing to do with abortion at all. It has nothing to do with that. It's a strict constitutional thing. The government has no right to tell people what type of health care they need. That's it. It's that clear.
Exactly.
Right? The thing is, when you start going off and saying, oh, well, we're going to make a special case for Hobby Lobby, that should be a pretty good indication that the government doesn't need to be involved in it at all.
Well, good deal. We're coming to the top of the hour. We got a couple of minutes left. Irene, any last words about what happened with the election, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, I just want to thank everybody who voted for me and all the support that I got. And for the future, I will continue to do what I'm doing for the next couple of years. I'm not going to stop until we get to where we need to be in this country. And I'll continue to fight for all of the rights that I've continued to do for this election in the future.
Very good. Rebecca, you have the last word.
So I have already been contacted by a few people to talk about me running again in 2016. So that is, I guess, on the table.
So we'll see both of you on the ballot then, because Irene said she's going to run in 2016 too.
Yeah. So I haven't. We're talking about it. We'll see. But yeah, I have been. I was actually kind of surprised. It's been less than 24 hours, and I actually had a couple people contact me about running again and being drafted for 2 years from now. So that's a good sign. I've gotten some good feedback from the National Libertarian Party as well as the Libertarian Party of Texas. So I think it's a matter of, as Irene said, it's a matter of onward and upward. Let's figure out where we're going next and take the energy that we've kind of gotten rolling and move with it, and let's see what kind of an impact we can have so we can get back to government doing what's in the Constitution and only what's in the Constitution.
I totally and completely agree. Well, gals, I'm sorry things didn't work out the way we wanted. You had my vote. And thank you for coming on the show. Irene, thank you for coming on the show. And you guys are welcome back anytime. I'm sure I'll have you back as part of my political commentary. And Rebecca, you heard my monologue. What's your take on that? I just wanted to get your opinion on that right quick.
You're spot on. You're completely spot on. The thing is, Republicans and Democrats both want to control something.